Howdy folks, and welcome to this week's news and community spotlights. We're excited to announce the conclusion of the Unreal Fellowship Games 2025, where participants brought their ideas to life by building fully playable games in just 3 weeks. This intensive hands-on boot camp gave developers and artists a chance to dive deep into Unreal Engine, while unleashing their creativity and gaining practical experience as they built their games from scratch. Learn more at unrealengine.com/feed, and be sure to check out their dev diaries for insights, tips, and behind-the-scenes look at the game dev processes of these amazing participants. Get ready for a ride with Sealy Auto. They're turbocharging human-machine interfaces in cars using Unreal Engine, slashing development times from 5 years to just 3. With their tech already cruising in over 30 million vehicles, they're all about maximizing performance with Unreal Insights. Sealy is on a mission to create not just smart dashboards, but an exciting and memorable experience for drivers. Buckle up and read more about the future of driving on the feed. We're happy to announce that the Sports Broadcast Motion Design Sample Project is now available for free on Fab. Developed in collaboration with Capacity Studios, this fully designed and animated project showcases a variety of broadcast artist workflows using UE's motion design toolset. With features like Transition Logic, Rundown, and Material Designer, it is an excellent resource for designers and creators looking to enhance their motion graphics. Don't miss out and download it on Fab today. Join your local chapter to learn, grow, and be inspired. Here are some upcoming events to check out. Now, let's jump into this week's stunning community spotlights. Technical artist Nina Kloss shines bright with her latest project, Tropical Beach, a stunning blend of technical artistry and loving creativity. With glittering sea glass sands and a vibrant atmosphere, this art piece captures the intoxicating beauty felt when gazing out into the ocean from the shore. This project also includes breakdowns of their process, as well as some of the tools they used to realize this captivating piece. Be sure to swim over to their art station to check out more of their amazing work. From magic missiles to bubble shields, real-time VFX artist Max Engelsiepin brings these effects to life through rich, stylized systems that balance spectacle with precision. Their work shines through not just bold visuals, but in the layers and details, secondary and tertiary elements that add depth, rhythm, and impact. Whether it's the overlapping water dripping off of a sphere or the final sparks and smoke of an explosion, these effects feel intentional and integrated. You can check out more of their work on their ArtStation. Abdul Hanov has come out swinging with their project Tokyo Street. From the large facades of the various buildings down to the crates, cartons, and buckets, this richly detailed scene radiates with the warmth and authenticity of the city, while drawing the viewer in with precise composition and soft camera movements. Oh, and did we mention that this was their first environment project? They used this piece as a means to learn the entire environment pipeline from scratch, and we think they absolutely nailed it. If you're as impressed as we are, you can find more of their work, including breakdowns of this project, on their ArtStation. That's all for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside Unreal, a show where we learn, explore, and celebrate everything Unreal. I am your host, Tina, and today with me, I have some very wonderful guests who are going to be going over the newest Fab and Launcher update that recently came out just this past week. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and pop over to our guests. We'll go through, have them introduce themselves, and then we'll just kind of walk through Fab and Launcher and talk a little bit about it, what's on the table, what it offers, and go from there. So to start us off, Short, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name is Sjoerd de Jong, and I'm involved in a wide variety of developer-facing things at Epic, the Epic Dev community, documentation, sample projects, Fab, Unlegend.com, and also just today, actually, we announced for Fortnite creators, the upcoming Fortnite Creator Communities feature. So working on that as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So just a couple things, you know.
Yeah, a few things.
Then next, of course, we have Aaron. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure, I'm Aaron, principal technical artist at Epic Games. I build sample content, demos, templates, all the things that you get to download and break and have fun with.
Very, very aptly put, for sure. Then next we have Eric. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure. I'm Eric, so I'm the content director for Megascans. So I'm responsible for the product and the roadmap.
Very nice. Thank you for being here. And last but certainly not least, we also have Mark. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself as well, please?
Sure. I'm Mark Kurt. I'm a product management director for Fab. Super excited to be here to talk about Fab.
Yeah. Thank you so much all for being here. This is such a big update, and I'm really excited to get into it and talk a little bit more about it. Eric, I believe you had some aspects about it that you wanted to start us off with, right?
Yeah, so I've been with Quixel since the start, pretty much. So when we launched Megascans all those years ago, we quickly realized that getting content into your workflow seamlessly was crucial for interrupted creativity. And one of the key gaps in Fab until now has been the lack of a true bridge style app. But Fab in Launcher changes that. And with features like intuitive browsing and search, one-click batch export straight into major engines and DCCs. So with that, I want to hand it off to Shord and Aaron to walk you through the newly released Fab in Launcher.
Yeah, so we just released it this week on Monday, and it is a continuation of a lot of the functionality that Bridge had, like Eric just pointed out. And that Bridge used to offer for Quixel assets, but Fab in Launcher does this for all Fab content. So it's a lot of good workflow improvements to make it much easier to quickly get assets from Fab into your projects. So, Aaron, we're gonna show some stuff.
Yeah, if you bring up my screen. The first thing I want to show as well, the number of Quixel assets, because this is one of the big problems that I keep having, is that there's too much stuff for me to choose from now. And I think we just had like a major drop of some new content as well. So if I give a quick scroll through, and you can kind of see some of the stuff that we've had. I'm just going to do last 7 days, so we can see it. There's just like mountains of this stuff. And I got a sneak peek of some of the new stuff coming in. There's so much as well.
Quixel had its biggest content drop yet, actually. So over 300 new assets from 4 collections earlier this week.
I'm trying not to scroll too quickly so that people can actually see some of them. But yeah, it's like it's a lot of content. But yes, so I've got my library. I've got a couple of scenes, one in Blender and one in Unreal. Just to caveat that, both of those scenes are really heavy. So my computer is slightly dying a little bit. So we will try as hard as we can to not have things crash. But yeah, we'll just know that my computer is under a high load at the moment on some of this.
It's trying its best.
What would you like to start with, Sean? Do you want to start with the Unreal scene or the Blender scene?
Well, we can start with Blender, just to also call out to everyone. So we're supporting Max Maya Cinema for the Blender, Unity, and Unreal, and one-click export for all of them. So what you're going to do now is you're going to do that one-click export. So we're selecting Blender here, right? And so rather than having to download a zip file and then unzip the file and select the files and import them and then like link them back up in case you have to reassign the textures or create materials, it's just click and it's in there.
The thing I love about it as well is that you can define what your download settings are as well. So like before, I've just had to go in and say, okay, I want it in Blender, I want it this particular format, but you can just have that be predefined, which means you don't have to set it again. You just do it, and then you press one click, and I go into my tool, and then they're actually already in there before I can even transition. This is one of the annoying parts of it. I've just pressed it and they're already there. So yeah, this is kind of one of the scenes that we've got, which is one of the demo environments that you can download from Blender for free. It's a really cool sample to explore. And we've got this kind of mech engineer who's kind of working on one of the environments. So I've taken one of the nice free samples that we've got with some of these garage tools. and I've just added those in. So if I go over to 000, those have been added there. They've got all of the materials set up correctly for me. Don't have to do anything on that side of things. And now I've got a bunch of assets that I can do stuff with. So I can go in, I can go and just fix my transforms on some of these. I can go pop them over next to my guy. And now I can just kind of add a bunch of stuff there. So let's get those positioned nicely on the floor. This is one of the problems with us doing this demo, is that I can now spend ages just rotating and getting these things into exactly the right position that I want. I'm going to avoid doing that if I can. But it's really nice that you can kind of just go in and just add that content in, especially on tools like Blender.
Yeah, and so 2 more things there as well. So in FabNode Launcher, we have it records if it's on disk. So basically, you can download things and then export them. So if you have multiple projects that could use those assets, right, they're already on disk. There's a filter in the top left as well. Lets you filter on everything that's on disk. So that's great as well. For meshes that are coming in, and Aaron just mentioned that it already has a material setup and all that. That is dependent on how the asset is set up, and Fab does have a wide variety of assets in there that are set up according to many different standards. So it doesn't necessarily work for every single asset. It depends on how the creator who made the asset set it up. We published guidelines a while back, about a month ago, I think, roughly, somewhere, I think early August it was, on what the recommended way of setting up the different ways support. There's a couple of different like naming conventions and such to follow. And if it follows that, we're able to find, for example, the associated textures and assign them to the material or the mesh. So not necessarily 100% every single mesh works, therefore, out of the box, but we have strived to support as much as we can.
Just giving that guy some breakfast. He can have a croissant.
It's very white.
It's very white background. This is actually one of the assets that doesn't have an associated texture with it, so it comes in as blank. But yeah.
But we're also hopeful that now that the tool is out and these guidelines are published, that over time, more and more of the creators who have products and then assets on Fab will take a look at those guidelines and make sure it's following those, so that this kind of one-click export workflow works for as much content as possible. Yep. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have it ready here, but Max Maya, it would have worked the same as Blender. Same thing, Cinema 4D, same thing.
This is awesome.
Yeah. And then I think, Aaron, you had an Unreal scene as well.
I do, yeah. Yeah, I like that it has loads of different file formats as well, so you can just export it as like a straight Blender file if you want to. But yeah, I've got the ancient ruins here, dark ruins. Sorry, not ancient ruins, I should say. I'm sure they are ancient as well. And we can add a bunch of assets to this. So we have the in-engine version that you can use, but you can also use the direct Fab in Launcher. So I am going to pick some trees, because I think that the dark ruins could do with just, kind of brightening up a little bit. So we'll add that to project. It'll come up with my project that I want. So I can just select that in there and then add that in. Has it done that? Has it done it? No. Now this might be because I added them in earlier and then deleted them. So I might need to just double check.
And it depends also how the asset is set up. So I think in this case, you have an entire, maybe a project or a folder and not a project, but it's not an independent asset, right?
Yes,
the independent
right,
asset wouldn't have asked for a project to import it to. It would have just taken the engine with the project that's currently running, just like Blender. So it depends on how the stuff is set up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just try with one that I haven't added to it before. Just add project.
But otherwise, you can also just try with a bunch of rocks, for example, individual ones.
Yeah, I'll do some rocks.
Some of my personal favorite assets, honestly, is rocks. There's so many, okay? You can never go wrong.
There we are. Again, it just drops in really nicely. I need to get it facing the right way so I can get some lighting on there. So it's really nice to be able to just drag and drop that stuff in. It kind of just, it's the nice thing about Quixel content, that it all kind of just works together because it's all just the same calibrated scan, which is really nice. So I can kind of go in. Let's add some more stuff in there. We've got some cool rocks. This one looks nice. Change my format.
And so the format also just pointed out for everyone. You can set the default in the options. So in this case, we haven't done that, but if you would have set that, you wouldn't have to change it all the time.
Go in just. You know, liking the look of that. Don't duplicate too many times. You can do another one.
The other cool thing here, yeah, Aaron, the other cool thing is that you can select multiple things, just do it in batch.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point. Okay.
And grab some of the new animal skulls from the latest crop. Fit right into the cave, I think.
Yeah.
If you click at the bottom, yeah.
And then open up my expanded window.
Yeah. So you can select a whole bunch of things and just export or bring them all in all at once. And the same would have worked in Blender or any of the other programs.
Now I have all the assets. Just give it a minute to think about it.
Absolutely. I feel like we've handed you too much power, Aaron, is what's happening.
You're all just going to have to sit here now and watch me working on this environment and just adding stuff to it. It's not liking my aspect ratio differences between my multiple machines. Yeah. No. Go. See where it's gone a bit green. I can add some of this. I've just got some nice green stuff in it. There we go. That's good. Oh, good. I mean, it was already looking good, so it's not, it's not difficult, but it's still.
Yeah, it's cool. So, I mean, we already had the Fab in Unreal Engine plugin too, right? You can click and drag from there too. So in that sense, for Unreal Engine, just for individual assets, it's similar to that. But for other programs, like other tools, like again, Blender, etc., it really adds a layer on top of it because it's just click and you've got it. And also, even for Unrealto, what it does do here as well is it is going to replace the old Vault. Currently, we still have the Vault in the launcher, but so the Vault is there for one to deal with plugins or things that are entire projects, things that are you can't just drag them into an existing project, right? And that's what's originally kind of the main purpose of the Vault was for, and that's what we're replacing here as well. So you can find a plugin on Fab, and you can bring that plugin into a project as well. So it's definitely replacing the Vault. The Vault is currently still there because we didn't want to take it offline yet. Just first kind of get a sense like, okay, does this work well? Fab and Launcher, right? Any problems that we're picking up? Any issues? Also, my library needs some improvements, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But we're first just keeping both online just for safety. But the plan is to work towards deprecating Vault by the end of the year. We'll see if we have some delays. There might be some delays, but we're going to deprecate it because it is at this point, I think 11 years old or something like that, or 10 years old. It's never had many options, right? It's quite difficult to sort by it. It's just a giant list, etc. It's very outdated. So we're going to have Fab be the replacement for that. Fab My Library also does need improvements. So I think from our side, now that we have Fab in the launcher out, the next step for us is to improve the library portion of Fab, both in the launcher as well as on web and in the plugin, just in general, the library. So in terms of Vault deprecation, there is some content in the Vault that is not yet in Fab. There's a little bit of legacy content that never was in Fab. that we still have to move over, also in the systems on our end, so that we're able to take whatever content you have in the vault can appear in Fab. So that's going to take a bit of time. And then in the library, we have, since launch, we've had a lack of parity between filters. So the filters you have available in the library are not the same as the filters you have available on the rest of Fab. We're working on that currently. We have that pretty much done on the web. It's not yet live, but it's pretty much done on the web. Currently working on the plugin and the launcher, feature, same thing there, and we're close. So that should be out soon. And then other things we have to improve in the library, in my library, are search. So search doesn't work that well, specifically in the library. So we have some fixes we can do there. We can do exact match. Just in general, an overall pass and an overall, what you type, it should find that. So those are some of the immediate my library things we're looking at for the remainder of the year. And that's going to help a lot, I think. Especially the more assets everyone has, the better you have to be able to manage that larger set of assets. So yeah. Again, probably just keep talking. Some other things to call out here is performance in the launcher. We are aware of it's not always ideal. It's also not the easiest fix. We do have some improvements lined up for the rest of the year. There is a CEF update in terms of how it's rendered set for November. We're expecting some limited performance improvements maybe from that. And we have a bunch of multiple smaller fixes lined up for the coming weeks, which should help a bit with loading times, like initial loading times of bringing Fab up. So there's some improvements coming, but it's also a hard problem to 100% optimize it is also quite tricky, but we're working on that as well. So yeah. There's currently an issue with when you keep scrolling, you eventually run into some problems where it's kind of gets stuck and all that. Fixes in progress for that. Also, we want to add shift click to multi-select multiple things, like you click the first asset, the last asset selects everything in between the two. There's some overall improvements, small improvements around batch operations. For example, batch delete content. There's some additional native formats we should support, like the blend format for Blender. There's overall additional formats we want to support in Fab 2. We're looking at Godot, Substance, and there's a bit of a list that's on the roadmap. So we want to extend that. Plugin, the way that you install the plugin. So the way that Fab Launcher works with these different tools, like again, like Maxo Blender or something like that, is it has a plugin for each of them. You download that plugin and you use that plugin to create the link between the application and the launcher. The way that those plugins are managed, we think we can improve that. For example, in the future, they may need to be updated. How do you find out you have to update them, etc.? So looking at some improvements there as well. Another thing that we have to tackle is, for example, Aaron, when you earlier on added the vegetation, there was this pop-up where like select your the Unlegend project to bring the content into. That window is very old. It's basically from from the marketplace and all that. It's not 100% ideal. So we want to touch it up. You might have customs installs of the engine. Basically just the engine installation. You just copy the files from one computer to the next. You pull from source control, just making sure it can find all that stuff, making sure it can find those kind of projects. We need to improve that a bit. So those are kind of somewhat near to medium term items we want to look at to improve this further. It's pretty much where we're at, I think, in terms of launcher. Okay. I can keep talking, but I feel like someone should say something meanwhile, and then I have a few more points.
Please take it away.
To keep down the Fab, part of conversation here. So we also next month have the 1-year anniversary of Fab, and we're going to do some stuff next month too. Probably, I think we're looking at another live stream, and there's a few more things. Overall, I'm going to talk more at length when we do the 1-year anniversary thing here, but overall, it's been, the original launch of Fab a year ago wasn't necessarily ideal, to say the least, right? There were quite a few issues there as we launched, but we have been working through quite a bit of it. The public roadmap was updated about a week ago. We updated both the contents and we updated the feature itself, as in there's now associated forum threads where you can discuss stuff, and just the way the roadmap presents a bit nicer, basically. But if you look through the roadmap, there's quite a few items there that are completed. There's also quite a few items left, so it's by no means ideal yet. But we have taken some steps forward. The next big step, now that the launcher is a thing, Fab in the launcher, It's text reviews. This is in progress and it's set for next month, so during the month of October. And we really would like to get that out before the 1 year anniversary. Again, stuff may happen, some delays may occur, but that's the goal that we have currently. There's also another thing that is meant to come out in October is the ability to report generative AI assets that didn't declare themselves as being made with AI. So you can report that content. So we strive for more, accuracy, right? Things are what they say they are. That's what we want to do. And that same form update, because it's a reporting form that's being updated, will allow for some other stuff too. So generative AI use is not correctly declared, misleading product name, misleading tag use, or just wrong tag use in general, and wrong product category. So we can if you spot issues, right, and they might not even be intentional issues, it might just be kind of, someone accidentally added the wrong tag or something. But you can raise that with us. We'll take a look at it and we'll start fixing that stuff. So we clean up things a bit. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at.
That's awesome. So lots of really great changes that have been done to it already and some cool stuff that's on the horizon. I do also want to let everyone know that, of course, as usual, we're taking questions as well, specifically about Fab and Launcher and maybe anything you might have in regards around that. So let us know and we'll grab those. Speaking of questions, though, I've got a couple lined up here for y'all if you're open to answering a few. All right. So the first one, and I think it's a great place to kick us off, is what's the main difference between Fab and Launcher versus Fab on web?
I guess I can keep talking unless Mark, you want to talk?
Yeah, no, I'll start maybe and you add. I think definitely the direct integration with the other software packages, GCCs and engines. There's clear distinction between the two. I also think the download to disk and distribute out to multiple engines. So download once and then export out to multiple is a time saver as well. And just sort of the overall organization of those files. Yeah. Short, I don't know if you have more.
No, I agree.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Very succinct, and I can see what you're saying, kind of the pros and cons of each, and I like how accessible that having Fab and Launcher feels as well. So this is awesome. Next question I've got for y'all is, how does this compare to Bridge in your opinion? Similar, better, things like that?
Well, Bridge was a great tool, and it certainly did what it was meant to do. But the truth is that we didn't really develop Bridge the last couple of years that much. It wasn't really an active development. And I think some of the integrations were kind of lacking, the way that content was came into the different engines and softwares that could certainly be improved. And I think generally the Fabian Launcher is a more stable tool built on a better code base. So I think that there might be some features that are not quite there yet in Fabian Launcher to make it feature parity with Bridge, but it has a much better outlook and it has a dedicated dev team. So I think it will go beyond Bridge pretty soon. But obviously we want to hear from everyone trying it, see what sort of a feature request you have. But yeah, I think it will surpass Bridge quite soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The next question I have for y'all is, the Vault has a dedicated download location. Will this Fab drop or have a similar location on folks' hard drives?
So I can start. I don't know, Mark, if you will to talk to this as well a bit, but this is not going to be the perfect answer. But yes and no, in a sense. First of all, it uses the download manager that the launcher uses overall. So when you download stuff like, from Epic Games Store, for example, there's a download manager. I think you can pause stuff, etc. It uses that same process. So that's quite nice to begin with, that you see like what's, the downloads as they're happening, etc. It then saves that to the same place, to my understanding. I might get some details wrong here, as Epic Games Store games do, or anything else that comes from the launcher. And I believe that in the settings of the launcher, you can change the download location. What I don't know is you can split that between Fab content and other content you got from the launcher. I think not. So now I'm going to double check. Hold on.
Yeah, I'd have to investigate that too. That answer sounds right.
But I think that sounds about right. If we,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, in a similar vein, talking about Vault and some of the functionality around that, does Fab and Launcher notify folks when a product receives an update?
Currently it does not, but that is definitely on the roadmap and one of the things that we'd really like to get in. I think it's a great feature to have. I know it's one that Bridge had, so yeah.
Awesome. Good to know. Folks are curious how they could potentially report if they come across any bugs or issues while experimenting with Fab and Launcher.
Yeah, so the forums are definitely an active place and a great place to go to get help, either from other users or from Fab staff itself. I just encourage anybody that has sort of a specific problem, maybe an account problem or something like that. It's probably best to run that through a support channel so they can look up information they need and stuff like that. But for general questions, for general issues you hit, for things that seem common across the sort of platform, definitely the forums are a place to go.
Awesome. Very nice. And we will make sure that we get a link to that in the chat there now. There we go. Thank you so much. Next question for y'all is there was some talk about semantic search with using AI to score relevancy to the search. And they're curious if there's any progress updates that you can give on that.
Yeah, I still working on it. We have sort of internally are reviewing the search results side by side. The team working on it has done a great job in there. And it's definitely something that we're still actively working on. I don't yet have a date for you, but it is coming. It is actively being worked on.
Very nice. Next question is folks are curious. What are maybe some of the differences or why there's the different versions of Fab, right? Because there is Fab in Web, Fab in Launcher, and the UE Editor content browser. I know you talked a little bit about this earlier too, but wasn't sure if there was any expansion y'all wanted to give on that.
Yeah, there's some differences. So first of all, web is a default, right? Web is very easy to get to. Anyone can go to web. It's going to be the first entry to Fab for most people as they're looking for content, no matter which tool you're currently using. It is simply the default and so accessible. So that's kind of the reason for web, I think. But again, web, once you start really using it for projects, web also gets a bit complicated. Like, again, you got to download file by file, unzip a zip file, it doesn't go very fast, right? So for workflow reasons, the UE integration is much easier. You can just drag content in from there directly into your viewport. That's great. But we've taken the path with the launcher in order to also support all the other things that aren't Unreal. So again, Max Maya, Blender, Cinema 4D, Unity, and we'll probably extend this list in the future. And rather than creating a plugin for each, because that plugin would behave very differently in each of these different tools, we have a single thing, the launcher, like Bridge, that's just in that single interface, exports directly to one of those. So again, in a way, the difference between the UE plugin and launcher, not huge. They do slightly different things, but yes, Unreal already had a plugin, but the other tools didn't. And that's what the launcher is, and really the strongest part of the launcher is.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of brings all those different pieces of software up to the same level, same playing field. Awesome. Next question for y'all. Will Fab Wishlist allow more saves, and will we be able to place the saves in something like a wishlist library categories?
So we have talked about expanding the size of the wish list. That's the first question. On the categorization and stuff like that, maybe not specifically for wish list, but we have been talking about collections and things like that, where you can organize your content both in your library and also stuff that you have yet to purchase. And in that, you'd be able to do the wish list things within those collections. So I maybe not the direct answer there, but collections are sort of a thing that's out there that we're looking.
As more and more assets are in Fab, and again, everyone has a bigger and bigger library, it does become more important to make sure you can actually organize that stuff. So we definitely want to tackle that at some point. Maybe we can create folders or something or collections or some way of organizing it. We haven't gotten to that yet. We do have other stuff to do first, so this will probably take a while longer, but we know we need it. We have to get to it at some point. And for the limit, because now the wish list has been out for, I can't remember, half a year, more than half a year. Mark, maybe we should take another look at just the limit and see if we can bump it up and what kind of implications that bring. But we should probably do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question. Someone is curious, how do they get the Fab plugin for Blender?
It is just in the launcher. So as you're getting, if you go to the launch Fab in the launcher, in the options there, you're able to access the plugins. So it just comes with it. It's not like you have to install it separate from the launcher and then go to the launcher, is my point. Oh.
Right. That's awesome. Thank you so much for
I
letting
can show that on screen as well if anyone wants a quick.
Yeah,
video.
absolutely.
So just top right settings tab, and you just open it up, and then there's an export section and a target. And whenever you pick one of these options, if you haven't got the plugin installed already, it will prompt you to do it. So I've got mine installed already, so it says already good. But if we had something like 3ds Max, it would ask you to download the plugin, and then it just deals with it. That's it.
Nice. Very easy, very straightforward. Love that. Next question I have for y'all is the social side of Sketchfab coming to Fab. Things like likes, collections, following, and stuff like that.
I can give a brief answer there. So we are exploring that, but it's early days. And again, we do still, if you look at our roadmap, for example, there's still all kinds of usability things that we also still need to tackle. So we think we're going to work towards that. But you can hear more details once we figured out things and it's all becoming more clear on how we're going to do that. So long term, eventually, yes.
Awesome. Will direct reviews and questions return to Fab as well? Something similar to like what was available on the Unreal Marketplace.
I know, Mark, I can start, but I think you have some stuff there too. So the reviews, we're adding reviews, questions. We do have generated forum threads right now that creators can associate with their asset on Fab for discussions, but the reviews are coming back. And Mark, I believe the plan of record is that we are migrating UEM ones, right? The marketplace ones. Yes.
Yeah. And you the seller will be able to answer questions in those text reviews and so provide a response in there as well.
Yeah. So that's coming, including the migrated stuff from before, the historical content.
Awesome. Well, I think that pretty much covers the majority of questions that I saw folks come in with. So the last one that I'm going to offer to each of you before we wrap up, also give folks, if you have any final questions, go ahead and toss them in the chat there. But what I have for you all is if there's one particular thing from this release, this Fab and Launcher launch, how many times can I say launch? Let's all count together. What would that one thing be that you would want folks to take away from this release and consider going forward?
That's the hardest question of the whole
I know.
live stream.
I always come in with the hard ones. The questions from chat are softballs. I have to be the one that comes in with the hard ones.
I think it was a really good question about the sort of distinction between web and Fab and Launcher and the plugin. And Shor's exactly right. There's sort of this spectrum of ways in which you're either discovering content or consuming content. And I think the Fab and Launcher really strikes the balance between those two. Like, it's a great discovery experience, but it's also the way in which you're going to consume that content and get into your project. So from a standpoint of not just working on Unreal, but working through other tools, especially working through like DCCs like Blender and stuff like that, like I think it really does strike a great balance between those two.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Anything in addition?
I mean, anything that we can get in the launcher, I think is good, just to improve the launcher or justify improving the launcher, right? Like it's been a bit slow for a while. So kind of like the more stuff that we get like this, I think the quicker that, the quicker the launcher will get and the more features that will get added to it. So I'm excited about that as well. Like the actual launcher experience on Fab is like surprisingly good. Like when you first launch it, you kind of like, you're like, oh God, I'm gonna have to use the launcher, and then you open it and it's actually really quick, and you're kind of going through stuff. And like where I'm based, my internet's not great, but it still like is going through all the assets and scrolling, and everything updates really nicely. So I love seeing that, and I just hope that kind of like proliferates through the rest of the launcher as well.
Yeah, maybe you should address that elephant that's standing in the room of the launcher. Like the Unreal Engine experience in the launcher is now, again, 11 years old or something, and there's some stuff to be said about it that has been said online for many, many years. I think indeed, like Aaron, like you mentioned, this is a way to like start opening up that box, or whatever expression you want to use for it, right? To start addressing that, like, hey, the launcher needs to be a good experience for developers. FAP is in there now. What can we do with the Unreal Engine section? Because the Unreal Engine section does really need an update and an overhaul at some point. I mean, it runs in Unreal Engine 4, I believe. So that says some stuff. Yes.
If the launcher crashes, it opens up the UE4 bug report still, which is hilarious.
Yes. So we are very aware of that. That definitely has to be tackled. But again, we're moving towards that. Now we have more in the launcher, more reason that this really needs to be tackled. So I hope that progress can be made there.
I'm always excited to see the stuff. Like you look at all of the interface stuff that is in the Fab side of things. I'm looking at that and be like, oh, we can do that. Like, that's good. We can do that in the launcher. So I want to see that everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think we've covered all the main big questions that I've seen come in from folks, although I do also want to take a second to iterate that a lot of them also have a lot of thank yous for getting Fab integrated into the launcher, and they're excited to see where it goes. And also thank you all for coming and talking about it and walking us through it a little bit, showing us how it works and things that they can look forward to in the future. So yeah, thank you for being here and taking the time to do this. Very much appreciate you all.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone for being with us, using Fab, using Unreal. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally second that. Thank you, everyone who came to watch the show as well and asking questions and being part of this conversation. It wouldn't be what it is without you and your participation. So thank you so much for being here and taking the time to participate and be part of our community. If anybody did pop into the stream partway through, or you want to go back and review some of the answers or some of the demo that happened, you can do so because we post all of our streams as videos that can be viewed on demand on both our Twitch and YouTube channel at Unreal Engine. So if you missed anything or you just want to re-review, no worries. You can do that whenever at your own discretion. If you want to keep up with us for the latest news and updates, all that kind of good stuff, you can do so on Unreal Engine on all of our socials, as well as Fab on our socials as well, to specifically keep up with Fab updates if that's what you're most curious about. And last but certainly not least, if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you come join us on the Epic developer community. This is where you can, like Mark mentioned earlier, if you have any feedback or reports or things like that, you can do so on the Epic developer community. We have a whole section just dedicated to Fab there. That's where our forums live. That's where documentation for the engine lives. That's where you can get all kinds of good stuff just across multiple services from Epic at large. So if you haven't already, go check that out. It's a great resource to have. But otherwise, one last big thank you to our wonderful guests again for coming on today and talking about this. And thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you for the next one. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.